So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Here today, welcome you back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network Podcast here today. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far. I know I am, and hopefully everybody had a good rest of their day yesterday. Yes, it is. Baseball is back. July 24th is the first day of baseball, which is exactly as today is Wednesday, June 24th. Hope everybody, like I said before, is having a good day. Today is Wednesday, June 24th. In exactly a month from today, we will have Major League Baseball back in action. I'm going to be covering it all here for you guys today on the podcast. Also, I just want to make one quick announcement, okay? I'm going to continue to do the Monday through Friday podcast now that the baseball season is back. I've been saying this for a while now. I was gonna do it this year with the baseball season when it first started, but that obviously didn't happen, so I didn't do it because there was really nothing to talk about when the baseball. I mean, there was a lot to talk about. It's just not really worth it to do it on a Sunday show. So here's what I'm going to be doing, and when football season starts, I will obviously do the football part of this as well, where I do a Sunday show doing my game picks. On Friday, we'll probably do my college game picks. Sunday will be my game picks and my fantasy projections, who you should put in, who you should sit. And also, another thing here is that, like I said with the fantasy thing, I will be posting those before 1 o'clock, before the day games. I will be posting those. So then you can watch them and see, okay, here. Oh, I don't know if everybody would take advice. That's one thing. So now my fantasy baseball predictions, what I'm going to be doing is our fantasy baseball. Well, technically I'm actually playing fantasy baseball, so I might do something a little bit like it. But with the Around a Diamond and 360 Feet podcast, I will be talking about the weeks in baseball. So that week, so Monday through Sunday is that week, and I'll be predicting the next week. So pretty much it's going to go like this. It's going to be Sunday, I'll just be talking baseball, no other sport, just baseball. I'm not going to have 3 topics. I'm just going to talk about the Yankees, how they did in each of the games. I also do this. I do keep a book for the Yankees during their season. I keep a book for them. So I'll have my book out here to tell you all the stats, what their record was, who they beat, how they beat them, what the pitching was. I'll give you all that. Weekdays, I don't know if I'm going to predict all the games because on Sunday I'll probably predict the week's worth of games. So that's just something that I want to do there, obviously, as baseball season seems like they're coming back. July 24th, hopefully that's the case. But anyway, so let's get that out of the way. We got the MLB Deal. Finally, I said this yesterday. It feels great to have the MLB Deal to talk about. It feels great. It's not the MLB Plan anymore. It's no more MLB Plan. It's MLB Deal. So here's the deal. We got Jets and Giants Mount Rushmore, which is why I got to go fast here because I want to spend a lot of time on those 2 topics. And then right before I came on the air, I got breaking news that J.R. Smith is the top leading candidate for the Los Angeles Lakers to fill in for Avery Bradley. So either that deal could happen any moment now. So I was going to cover it. Now, I'll probably be talking more about it tomorrow just because it's going to be my 3rd topic, and I probably won't spend too much time on it because I would imagine I'm going to be mainly through this podcast already. But with J.R. Smith, big news over there with the Lakers and J.R. Smith news. So we will talk about that all coming up later on in the show. But as I always say, let's get to it. Today is the Wednesday BSN Network Podcast. So here we go. We got the MLB Deal. Like I said, this is the first time I'm actually saying MLB Deal. And you know how I feel about the whole player situation, about everything like that. Okay, first off, I'm okay with this. The players are only going to get $100K. Now, that's not much money. But, right, the players expected all their money. They're not going to get all of it, which is, with the MLB, that's technically the right thing to do. Because you're not playing a full season. You're not going to play a full 162-game season with all these playoff games, with all these other games mixed in. You're only playing 60 games. That's another thing with the MLB. It's only going to be a 60-game season. It's going to be about a 4 to 8 week season. That's about 2 months. So if it's done in July, it ends near September. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, this is stupid. They should have just ended and things like that. To be honest, I was kind of on that boat there. I was kind of in the middle. But when you look at it, I'm not saying I'm not a baseball fan. I'm just completely like, I'm just removing myself from being, I'm just going to be a sports fan. I kind of just did that. After I came off the air one day, I kind of just got thinking about it. I went into deep thought about it. Not even just the fact that just cancel out that I'm a really sports fan. Meaning I like this team in each sport. Just cancel that out. Just think about it. Without sports on TV, right? And it's been tough. I'll tell you what. I've barely watched TV. Usually the TV that I use to watch all my sports games on, I've barely touched that during this whole sports lockdown. I've barely touched that thing. I maybe turned it on a couple of times because there's nothing on TV. I haven't even really watched TV that much. Usually the only thing I'm watching on TV is sports, and that's besides the broadcasting shows that I watch. Other than that, I don't really watch anything on the TV right now because there's just nothing on. There's literally just nothing on. It's just a bunch of shows or it's a bunch of reruns. And you know how I feel about the reruns the reruns are just the same thing. It's just you know what's going to happen, so why even bother watching it? I watched a couple of them. I will admit I did watch Game 7 of the 2016 NBA Finals against the Cavs Warriors. The only reason I watched that is because I find so much joy out of that. I find a lot of joy out of that. I actually got happy sitting there watching that game. Wow, they just blew this 3-1 lead. But back to my point, I kind of just removed myself, and I'm just a sports fan. I like to watch sports. I'm not. I just kind of remove myself, right? For just that 1 minute. But you know how bad it would be if baseball didn't come back. Meaning, for me, too. Baseball not coming back and not even playing a season. If you really just think about it, it would stink. And I was there for a little bit, especially when the players were like, oh, we're not going to negotiate anymore. I was like, you know what? Just end the season and just start fresh next year. Hopefully when everything's back to normal, maybe you still have to wear a mask. If you're going into the stadium, maybe you still have to wear a mask. I mean, I would take wearing a mask, and I'll tell you what, I can't stand wearing a mask. I don't like it at all. I just don't like it. I don't like things on my face, I guess. I can't stand wearing a mask. But I'll tell you what, if you have to wear a mask to a game, it's not the end of the world. I would take that than no baseball. Now, there is going to be no crowd. There is going to be no fans in the stadium. Now, yesterday, I will admit, I was watching. I was somewhere, and there was a soccer game on TV. And I was just, it was on in the background. I wasn't really watching it. But anyway, soccer game on TV. I'll tell you what. They were pumping in fake crowd noise. If you closed your eyes and you listened to that, you would think it was a recap. Completely. And I'm telling you, I don't know if baseball really can do it because I don't know if the fans really get into it that much. It's your normal ballpark sounds, right? It is. It's your normal ballpark sounds. It's your normal people talking, the smell of hot dogs through the air. You got the crack of the bat. It's your normal baseball stadium sound. You really don't have, some sports, they have their chants. I know with the Jets, for example, before every kickoff, they do Jets, 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 Jets. You don't hear them spelling out Yankees at a Yankees game before every first pitch. They just don't. Now, for example, the Yankees in right field, they call the bleacher creatures. They yell out the players' names. Will they put that into there? I don't know. But it's got to be unique for every team, right? Because what's every team tradition maybe they have, and if you're playing at that stadium. So there's going to be no fans in attendance. So the MLB plans to implement up to 60-game season. Key schedule dates likely opening day when spring training could start. So obviously, like I said, the whole MLB is back and things like that. Is great. So the MLB plan, like I said, is going to be around 60 games. Now they're all saying that it's coming back from a July or from a March 26th plan that they had. So it's kind of weird. So I guess they had a March 26th plan, and this is the whole thing with the March 26th plan, I guess, is I guess the whole March 26th plan was, we came out with a plan here, and then you know what happened was March 26th was really when this all kind of really just ripped through. Like, it was bad, and then you got the first couple of cases, everybody kind of, it was in March, first couple of cases, and they probably agreed to a plan, because that's what every league did, and I'll tell you what, every league did it. Even NBA said, we'll be back within like a month. Not the case. Now they're coming back. I'll tell you what, the NBA has had a very smooth. Now they have had had cases. Actually, Nikola Jokic, a big name, rising star on the Nuggets, on the Denver Nuggets, got it just announced a couple minutes ago before I came on air. He got the virus, and that's it stinks, but it's bad. But I think what the March 26th plan, I guess they were saying, is something they agreed on March 26th. But I guess it got so bad they couldn't even play a season. Because then everything just got shut down. Like, everything. Because you got to imagine, March 28th, I think, was opening day. So if they agreed on a plan March 26th, they're probably like, okay, we're committed to playing full season if we start maybe 2-3 weeks late. And then April really was just a bang. Like, that's when the cases rose. That's when everybody was like, oh, yeah. Because near March was really when everything got canceled. Everything got really canceled. Baseball followed all the other sports. NCAA canceled all the tournaments. They canceled the March Madness. They canceled, obviously, NBA. They canceled NHL. They canceled MLB. They even completely got rid of the XFL. Now looking at it, they really, where are you going to play an XFL season? Are you going to play it now? I guess you could have, but they ended up doing bankruptcy and everything like that. It's a completely different story. But I guess they agreed on a March 26th plan, and it just never happened because I guess the cases rose. Things got really out of hand. It was March and April, probably the worst months, because it kind of first hit, and when it first hit, nobody expected it to turn into where, everything shut down, things would really change. We thought maybe it would be, hopefully it's like, I forget what it is, SARS, I think it is. Hopefully it's like that, where it just never comes back. Hopefully it's like that. But MLB announces 60-game season for 2020. Opening day will be July 23rd or July 24th. This was obviously released a little bit ago, yesterday. So this is one of the more updated articles. Major League Baseball is set to return a MLB PA. Informed the league on Tuesday that players will comply with Commissioner Rob Manfred's imposed outline for a 2020 season. Players are set to report for another version of spring training on July 1st, and the league's imposed 60-game season will start either July 23rd or July 24th, the league announced. So I would assume it's going to be like maybe some start on July 23rd or some start on July 24th. I've heard all July 24th. That's what I've heard. I've heard some July 23rd. Let's just go with July 24th, though. The two sides are finalized coronavirus health and safety protocols on Tuesday night. Here's part of the league statement announcing MLB's return. The health and safety of the players and employees remain MLB's foremost priorities in this return to play. MLB is working with a variety of public health experts, infectious disease specialists, and technology providers on a comprehensive approach that aims to facilitate a safe return. MLB has submitted a 60-game regular season schedule for review by the Players Association. The proposed schedule will largely feature division play, with the remaining portion of each club's games against their opponents' leagues corresponding geographical division. Example: East versus East, Central versus Central, and West versus West. Like they said, they want to limit the travel. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to limit the travel. That's really the whole thing here. That's why they're making the geographical divisions. They're not making it to make things interesting, although they might make things a little bit more interesting. You're going to see the Mets and the Yankees play more times than just twice in a year. It's not to make things more interesting, although, like I just said, it probably will. It's to keep these players, like they said, safety is at the top of their minds. You can't play without safety. So, like I said, they want to really limit the far travel. You don't need a team from the West Coast coming over to the East Coast, or a Central coming over to the East, or even the Yankees going over to the Giants out in San Francisco. You don't want that. Or vice versa. San Francisco coming to the Yankees. You don't want that. You want to limit that travel. It's a far plane ride. You don't want that. You want to limit that travel as best as you can. What they want to do is they want to have teams within their own area. So, for example, the Giants out in California, or the Giants in California, for example, they could play against the Dodgers. But that's okay because they're in probably driving distance. They don't have to take an airplane. Same thing with the Angels. They call it the freeway series when they play against each other. You take the freeway right up and you're right at the stadium. They're trying to make it kind of bus, where you have to take a bus. They're trying to limit the planes as much as they can. In order to mitigate the travel, the vast majority of Major League clubs are expected to conduct training at ballparks in their primary home cities. Exactly. So, for example, Yankees will be playing at Yankee Stadium. Mets will be playing at Citi Field for spring training. They're trying to limit the travel, instead of like a California team having to go down to Arizona, Florida, things like that. They're trying to limit the travel. And that's what I'm trying to stress here. That is what they're trying to do. They're not trying to make the geographical features to make it more interesting, although I will, like I said multiple times, it might, because you ain't going to see teams that are playing each other twice, 3 times a year. Usually they'll be playing each other decent times. It's to make sure that the players stay safe. It's to limit the travel on each player. Commissioner Manfred said Major League Baseball is thrilled to announce that the 2020 season is on the horizon. We have provided the Players Association with a schedule to play 60 games and are excited to provide our great fans with baseball soon. I'll tell you what, I was looking yesterday on Bleacher Report. There was a couple, I have Bleacher Report, and they showed a couple Twitter pages of each player. They all seem happy, which is weird to me because they were the ones that seemed like they didn't want baseball to be back. But now they're happy. I don't know. Like I said, I'm happy. I'm going to try to keep the mood happy as well. I'm not going to be a Debbie Downer and go down to, how are these players happy? So, yeah, like I said, the baseball season is back. I'm going to go even down some more here. MLB owners voted unanimously Monday night. What happened to my mouse? Oh, here we go. Unanimously Monday night to have Manfred mandate a season. In a statement, Manfred had requested that the players respond by 5 p.m. Eastern so that the league could proceed with scheduling that imposed season. The league and players failed to reach a modified agreement for a 2020 season after weeks of negotiation, and Manfred had the right to impose a schedule thanks to a deal that 2 sides struck in March. The negotiations about a return-to-play plan stalled when it came to the length of the season and financial composition. Players would have to receive the union's ability to file a grievance against the league, which could result or a substantial cash windfall. Also became a matter of importance later in the talks. Originally, the league had submitted a 67-page proposal outlining all the safety and testing protocols that would be installed into the season. So just something quickly here, from what I'm hearing is every time a player, they're going to be checked daily for fever. And they're going to have to take two coronavirus tests a week. So you're going to have to take 2 virus tests a week. And I think what they said is once you enter the stadium, you get checked for a fever, or I think it's multiple times. I don't know if they're going to do this. I know with me playing baseball, they're going to do this. Each team will play with their own baseball. So each team will play with their own baseball. That's to limit the contact. Because, for example, you and your teammates have practiced with each other, things like that. To go touch a ball with the other team, you don't know what they've been doing, right? So I don't know if they're going to do that, where each team, so for example, if the Yankees are playing the Mets, the Yankees will use their own ball, throw it out of play. When the Yankees come back, they'll use their ball. When the Mets, they use their ball, they'll throw it out of play. The Yankees use theirs, vice versa, same thing. Each team will use their own ball. I don't know if they're going to do that. I'm not sure, but I'll tell you what, it's going to be hard for these players. The sunflower seeds, the tobacco, the gum, Yasiel Puig licking his bat. It's going to be hard for these players to keep, because these are like superstitions. Like, these are like things that these players do in order to, kind of just, they play good with it. Yasiel Puig, every time he goes up to the bat, he licks his bat. Like, he can't do that now. Like, you just can't. Although they did say that it doesn't really live on surfaces. And if it did, they said it would be horrible. Like, it would be even spread even more. It doesn't live on surfaces, or if it does, or if it is on a surface, when people go around and obviously disinfect it, it obviously gets removed. But these players, like these rituals and stuff they have, like these superstitions, like it's gonna be hard to give these up. It's not worth noting that 40 MLB players and staff members reportedly test positive. Never mind. It's worth noting. Sorry, I read that wrong. Tested positive for the novel coronavirus in recent days. MLB has also ordered all spring training city sites to be closed and sanitized, and personnel must test negative for COVID-19 before being allowed to return. Here are 7 other things to know about the 2020 MLB season. Number 1. Format of the regional schedule finalized. The exact schedule still needs to be made, but we know the structure of it. Every team will play 40 games against divisional foes, or 10 apiece, and 20 interleague games against the geographical equivalent. So the Nationals, for example, will play their games against the National and the AL East teams. So 8 games against NL and AL East teams. So NL teams will play against East teams. NL and AL will play against East teams. NL Central and AL Central will play against each other. And NL West and AL West will play against each other. So, for example, this is what's great. The Yankees probably won't have to play the Astros this year. Probably not. They'll have to play we'll see a lot of the Red Sox. We'll see a lot of the Red Sox, a lot of the Rays, the Blue Jays, hopefully. I don't know. The Blue Jays, man, Toronto, they shut their borders down again. And now the Blue Jays might have to play at their Buffalo facility, which is their AAA team. Could get interesting over there. Next up is teams to submit 60-player rosters will open with 30-player rosters. So, predictably, things are going to move at a rapid pace. That includes teams submitting 60-player rosters for a big league spring training, with that list due to the league office by Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, according to The Athletic's Jason Stark. Stark added in a subsequent tweet that teams don't have to invite all 40 of their players, 40-player rosters to camp, but that those players must be paid regardless of their invite status. Once the season begins, teams will be allowed to carry 30 players on their active roster. The number will drop to 28 after 2 weeks, then 26 after 4 weeks, according to MLB.com Mark Feinsand. Universal DH among the rule changes. Gotta clap that one up. Finally, NL actually gets the DH for once. NL gets the DH. You know how I feel about the DH. I think it's outrageous not to have a DH. What would you rather? Bottom of the ninth. Here we go. You know why I just want to make something quickly here. You know why they probably did the universal DH is because AL and NL are going to be playing against each other more, like 20 times. And it's going to be hard to keep on switching. Oh, we're in this ballpark, so we have to do this guy, right? I want to make it simple. So universal DH. Now here's the thing. With the universal DH. Bottom of the ninth. 2 outs. Bases loaded. Who would you rather up? Your DH, who could be anybody from, for example, I'll go with the Yankees. It could be Aaron Judge to Gary Sanchez to Gio Urshela. It could be anybody. Or for the Mets, it could be McNeil. It could be Pete Alonso. It could be anybody. Or would you rather, I don't know, for example, the Yankees, Garrett Cole, or for the Mets, Jacob deGrom? Who would you rather at the plate? Don't even start. Oh, well, Jacob deGrom has done this before. He's hit a home run. Don't even start with that. Who would you rather? A guy with a 150 batting average or a guy with maybe a 280? Not even a 150. Some of these pitchers get 1 hit a season out of their 10 tries. What would you rather? Exactly. Most of you, a normal baseball fan, would probably rather take the DH if you want your team to win, I would imagine. Comment down below. Would you take a DH batting in the bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, 3-2 count? Or would you take a pitcher, bottom of the ninth, 3-2 count, 2 outs? Who would you take? I want to hear it. I don't know. I don't think I'm crazy for saying that I would want a DH. Am I crazy? I don't know I don't think I'm crazy. I don't really think I'm crazy for saying that. And there's been plenty of DHs that have walked up to the plate and hit big hits. So universal DH among rule changes, transaction freeze to end this week. Trade deadline will fall in August. Okay, so that's what I was wondering. So speaking of trades, MLB trade deadline fall on July 31st, and it will later come month on August 13th. Unlike in most years, it will represent the midway point of the season. COVID-specific inactive list. So it looks like, I heard about this. It looks like they're going to have a specific list of players that have the virus. They'll be on an inactive list. So it's not going to be like they're on the regular IL. It's going to be a specific COVID inactive list. So it's going to be MLB will have a COVID-19 specific inactive list that players will be placed on if and when they test positive or show symptoms. Because it's not like you can have coronavirus and be on the 10-day IL. First off, 10 days is not 2 weeks. I think usually if you get it and you test positive, usually I think you... Is it me, or I think it's 2 weeks you have to quarantine, or 2 weeks you have to do whatever I think it is. It's 2 weeks, and then you can obviously, go back to whatever you were doing. I think it's 2 weeks, and you have to get tested again, and if you test negative, you have to go. That's going to be one thing interesting. Like, if you and they said this too, like, if you get an oblique injury, for example, though you're usually out for that about 4 to 8 weeks. If you get one of those, you could be done because the season's lasting about 4 to 8 weeks. That's what's going to make things interesting. Make things that are very interesting. Like, players who get injured, they could be out for the year and forget about it. There's the season. Right? Forget about it. So we have that. Unsigned players head to Nashville. Everything like that. So that is the MLB 60-game season. Now I'm going to read you something here. These are the records after 60 games. Best NL records after 60 games last year. Now these could change completely. They did kind of change last year a little bit. Here we go. Best records 60 games. Best NL, Dodgers were 41-19, Brewers were 34-26, Cubs were 34-26, that changed. Braves were 33-27, and the Phillies were 33-27. That changed tremendously. Phillies whiffed at the playoffs. They had it going, and they completely just swung and missed. Best AL records, Astros 40-20, Twins 40-20, that changed. Yankees 38-22, that also changed to a good way. Rays 37-23, Rangers 32-28. That completely changed. To think that through 60 games last year, the Texas Rangers had a top record in the MLB. To think that is just outrageous to me. It's just crazy. Like that's just the stuff that could come this year. Like I'm not even kidding. Every fan of every game, and if you're watching this pod, every team, you have to listen to this. Your team is not out of it because the Texas Rangers last year through 60 games had the fifth best record in the American League. Fifth best record in the American League. Out of the 15 teams that are in there? Fifth best record in the American League. And they finished as one of the worst teams in the league. So I'm going to say this. All you Detroit Tigers fans out there, because they're horrible. Baltimore Orioles fans out there, because they're horrible. Texas Rangers fans as well, because they're horrible. Even them, they were going to open up their new stadium this year. And look, fans probably won't even be allowed. I mean, they'll obviously still be playing there, but could be interesting. Who else? Padres fans, who's also horrible. You got to watch out for them. Mets fans, they're horrible. You got to watch out for them. Because I'll tell you what, every single team this year is in it. Because through 60 games last year, it shows. And I have it right here. Right there. I'm not faking this. I am not faking that at all. Have it in my notebook. Rangers last year, through 60 games, had the fifth best record in the American League at 32-28. Now, that's not great. It's 4 games above 500, but if you're telling me 60 games this year, if they're 4 games above 500, they have the fifth best record, heck yeah, they're in the playoffs. Because these would be the 10 teams that are in, because they're doing a 10-team playoff. So the Dodgers, Brewers, Cubs, Braves, Phillies would be in. Astros, Twins, Yankees, Rays, Rangers would be in. And the Phillies, man, they started off booming last year. Everybody was like, oh, Phillies playoffs. Then look what happened. And I'll tell you what, teams like the Nationals, who last year were horrible through 60 games, And then they turned it on in the second half of the season. And they ended up winning the World Series. Could you see a team like that? Could you see a team really struggle this year? And then maybe next year really show up? Like, are the Nationals just not a first-half team? What is it going to be? Tell you what, this is very going to be interesting. And like I said, it's going to add a bunch of good twists to it. It's going to add a bunch of twists, I really believe. Alrighty, so we welcome you back here about the podcast. So we have, from what I've heard here, we have the Yankees and the Giants. The Yankees and the Giants, there it is. So I don't know if you guys watched that pod. It was a pod, it was a pod a couple weeks ago. I actually think I was in that blue shirt. I remember, because I think it was a really good pod. I really like doing the top players of all time. You know how I feel about doing. Now, I will tell you what, the segment that I said yesterday about Mount Rushmore, or about like maybe making a segment about something that's certain I talk about on a weekday, I made up something. Comment down below if you like this idea. It's called Monday Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore Monday, where I will give you one team's Mount Rushmore. It can be in both NFL, MLB. How about this? I'll switch it up. I could switch it up. So comment down below, please, because I want to know if you guys would be interested in that. Comment down below. It would be called Monday Mount Rushmore, where every Mount Rushmore Monday, Now, let me tell you, if I do every team in the MLB, every team in the NFL, that's going to take me a good 2 months. That's going to take me a long time, because it's once a week. It's not like even it's every day. It's like once a week. It's Monday. So I don't know how long the segment will go. I could just, you know what I'll do? I'll go into like a random team generator. I'll pick out a random team and I'll make their Mount Rushmore. Whether it's the MLB, whether it's the NHL, whether it's the NBA. I'll make all that, and I'll make that team's Mount Rushmore. So it's called Mount Rushmore Monday. Today I'm doing this one because it's Wednesday, and I kind of already said I was going to do this, and I don't want to wait all the way until Monday when I could be doing another team. So here we go, the Jets and the Giants Mount Rushmore. Now, you know how it is. I did this with the Yankees and the Mets. I'm going to do it again with the Jets and the Giants. Since they're both New York sports teams, I talk both of them. I'm going to do it again with the Jets and the Giants, all right? So I got the Jets Mount Rushmore, Giants Mount Rushmore. I don't think it's controversial at all. I really don't. I think honestly, I think it's a very good list. I agree with my list, to be honest. I think it's very good. I'm not trying to brag by saying that. I'm just saying I just don't think, it's not like I'm putting a random player in here just because I like them. I like all these players on the list. I think there's 2 on this list. There's actually 3. This was literally off the top of my head yesterday when I was sitting making my Mount Rushmore. Obviously, I have it right here on the paper. I was sitting making the Mount Rushmore, right? I was sitting there making it. I had 3 players off the top of my head. I was like, I have to put them in the Mount Rushmore. I have to. For the Jets, and I had 2 players off the top of my head for the 2 and almost 3. I had 2, and I was like, should I put this guy in as my 3rd? And I needed to find 1 more. So I have technically 3 off the top of my head for both teams, and I need to find 1 more. Not that I didn't know anybody else, meaning that I was stuck. Like, for example, the Jets, I had like 4 players for that running in that final 4th spot. I had 3, like I said, off the top of my head. I was like, oh, yes, these guys are going to Mount Rushmore. Going to Mount Rushmore, without a doubt. And then I had other players that, okay, is this guy should go into Mount Rushmore? Should he? Right. So we're going to talk about it. Here we go. New York Jets, Mount Rushmore. So let me just read you somebody's Mount Rushmore. This is Fox's Mount Rushmore. Joe Namath, Don Maynard, Curtis Martin, and Darrelle Revis. So that's their Mount Rushmore. I agree with some of that. I don't agree with all of it, though. Not that I'm saying the player that I don't agree with is a bad player. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't completely agree with it. That's not what I did. So here we go. Jets and Giants Mount Rushmore. We're going to start off with the Jets. Here we go. First, before I go, Mount Rushmore is this thing in South Dakota where it's the 4 presidents. Okay? It's 4 presidents, so I'm going to give you 4 of the greatest Jets of all time. So here we go. Joe Namath, number 1 quarterback for the New York Jets. What more do I have to say? Right? He's going to make it. He's the only quarterback in the Jets franchise history to win us a Super Bowl. Now, I will tell you this. Mount Rushmore is not coaches. It's players. If this was coach, I would put Eubank in here all day long. I put him in my Jets all-time 5 players. I put him in there. I can't put him in here because Mount Rushmore is the players. It's not coaches. You could do a Mount Rushmore coaches for that team. I didn't do one. Maybe I could one of these days. I don't know if I will, like I said. Don't know whether I will, but Joe Namath. I mean, the guy was just fascinating. Now, do I think he's a top 10 quarterback? I don't know. What he did with this Jets team, though, was just great. He underdogs against at the time the Baltimore Colts, I think. Now they're obviously the Indianapolis Colts. I think at the time they were the Baltimore Colts. They were huge underdogs. Nobody expected them to win. The percentages were so low for the Jets and so high for the Colts. Nobody expected anything. And that famous line, I can guarantee it, came through, won 16-7, and the Jets won 16-7, and there's our only Super Bowl win. 51 years ago, because last year it was in 1969. Last year was the anniversary, so this year 2020. So technically, when the season starts, I guess it's 51 years ago we won that Super Bowl. 51 years ago. In a way, I'm like, okay, well, at least we won one. But in a way, I'm like, gosh, we have not been back in a Super Bowl in 51 years. That's crazy, dude. That's just fascinating to me. Like, I would rather win one Super Bowl than lose Super Bowls. Now, there's some teams that haven't even hit. I think there's some teams that haven't even hit the Super Bowl yet, which stinks. And I think all those teams, I think the Lions, for example, I don't think they've even made it to a Super Bowl. Or even in the Barry Sanders time, I don't even think they've ever made a Super Bowl, and it doesn't look like they're close either. I did talk highly about the Lions. I did say they have a good team. They just can't put a season together, but I never said they're a Super Bowl team. So, Joe Namath, quarterback. Best quarterback in Jets franchise history. Why else would I put him on the Mount Rushmore list? There it is, Joe Namath, number 1. Number 2, Curtis Martin, running back. By the way, my first 3 are the ones I thought off the top of my head. That I knew off the top of my head. And I knew the other players off the top of my head as well, but I didn't know where to put them. So number 2, Curtis Martin. Guy's Hall of Famer. One of the better running backs of all time, in my opinion. Better than Walter Payton, better than Barry Sanders. Probably not. Definitely not. Better than Dickerson? No. Marshall? Probably not. It could get interesting when maybe you get not better than Jim Brown, not better than any of those guys. Ooh, someone went down the wrong tube. Not better than any of those guys. I'll tell you that for sure. But he is the best running back probably in Jets history that has made meaningful impacts, okay? You could say, the LaDainian Tomlinson. He came here late in his career. He didn't make big impacts, right? Same thing with Frank Gore. When he finished out a career, he'll be a Hall of Famer. He'll be one of the best running backs to go down of all time. On the Jets, no, because, he might only play one season with the Jets. Curtis Martin has played a meaningful time with the Jets. He played most of his years with the Jets. He played most of his career was with the Jets. A little bit was with the Patriots, I'm pretty sure. Most of it was with the Jets. Like, most of it. Like, 80% of it was with the Jets. The guy was unreal. I mean, it's almost like every play he made an impact. Whether it was blocking, whether it was running, whether it was either. He even caught. He could run routes and stuff. He was a very good all-around player. He really helped out the Jets when he was there with them. And, he, like I said, I think top 20 maybe of all time, top 25. I don't think top 10. But he's definitely up there. He's a Hall of Fame running back. And I think him being with the Jets was very good. I think also him, Curtis Martin, hopefully we have a guy in Lev Bell that could do what he did. Although Curtis Martin really left a big impact on his team. He really helped us out a lot. So Curtis Martin is number 2 on the Jets Mount Rushmore. Number 3, Don Maynard, wide receiver. He was with the Jets during that big old Super Bowl run. Namath to him reminds me of some of the big impact. Him to Namath remind me of Gronk to Brady, and I'm not even kidding. Now, I never watched him live. I've seen highlights, and I've also looked at the stats, and them two together, I've also, talked to people who actually saw him play live. You look at the numbers, them two together were unreal. Don Maynard was probably the best receiver to go all-time with the Jets. Probably all-time best receiver with the Jets. And that's not an understatement. I have probably three of the best players of all time on the Jets. Best quarterback of all time on the Jets, Joe Namath. Best running back, Curtis Martin. And that played meaningful time, okay? LaDainian Tomlinson, I bet. Maybe he is a little bit better. But no. Who played meaningful time? Frank Gore. He's only probably going to play one season. Curtis Martin made the most impact. Namath, best quarterback. Curtis Martin, best running back. Don Maynard, best wide receiver. Now, I'll tell you what. Rayne Krabert is up there. There's a couple players that are up there at the receiver position. But I think Don Maynard, I think he separates everybody else just because he was tall, lengthy. He was fast. He could catch. He was a good route runner. So Don Maynard. I always have a tough time with that last name sometimes. I say Maynard. I sometimes say Manard. You forget the Y. Maynard. Or sometimes you say Maynard. It's Maynard. Don Maynard is who is at the wide receiver position for the Jets, Mount Rushmore. Next up, this was the one. Now, I didn't have to Google it. I just thought it. Now, I had to look up the stats and stuff. But here we go. This was the next one. Joe Klecko, defensive lineman for the New York Jets. Okay? I know you might think this is outrageous. Darrelle Revis, Mark Gastineau, Marty Lyons, guys like that could be in there. I'm putting Joe Klecko because of what he did. The guy was fascinating. The guy was just unbelievable. What he did on the field was almost like any other defensive lineman in the NFL in that time. He was he was a very good player, and he's could be a Hall of Famer. He hasn't got inducted yet. I think he will. I mean, he's made the Pro Bowl, I think, 4 times, first team All-Pro, everything like that. He's had a very successful career out, and he played with the Jets, 90% of it. And, I think really, you just have to, you have to really, look at those guys that have played with the team for that long. And I'll tell you what, Joe Klecko, looking at the numbers, you really know this guy should be on the Mount Rushmore. Joe Klecko was just very good. He was quick to the ball, sacked the quarterback, run stuffer, could play in zone, could play in any type of defense. That Jets team, I really believe, you look at the players, especially, he wasn't, I don't think, a part of the New York Sack Exchange. He was before it. New York Sack Exchange, he was a Mark Gastineau who was a part of it. If you don't know what the New York Sack Exchange is, it was back, I think, in the 90s. The Jets had 3 players. Gastineau, I think it was Bird, and I don't know if it was Marty Lyons. I don't know. But they had 3 players. Unbelievable players. Great players, actually. And they called it New York Sack Exchange. Obviously, Jets being based near New York and everything like that. Now, their stadium's obviously in New Jersey, but they still considered it called the New York Jets. And they had the New York Sack Exchange, everything like that. Everything was like that they had everything going on, everything. With the whole New York Sack Exchange thing like that. Okay? Right? It was the 3 guys on the defensive line. They were unreal. They were sacking quarterbacks. They probably had the best defensive line at that era. It was almost like the Steel Curtain. And Steel Curtain was probably better. But I'm saying it was like that. It was the Jets' version of almost the Steel Curtain. They were phenomenal together. The 3 of them were just phenomenal. And they called it New York Sack Exchange because they really was the Sack Exchange. It really was. It was just crazy what they were doing with each other. I wish the Jets could do that now, but that's obviously not the case. So you have Joe Klecko here at defense lineman. Now, here's my honorable mention. Darrelle Revis, cornerback. Now, I could put Mark Gastineau here. I could put Bird. I could put Marty Lyons. I could put a bunch of guys here. I could put Rayne Krabert. I could put Chad Pennington. I could put a bunch of guys here, like I just said. I really could. I'm putting Darrelle Revis because of what he did. I mean, the guy, Revis Island. He came here 2007 to 2012, was a very good player. Best part of his career was here. Fascinating to watch him. Then he played. Then he came back with the Jets for 2 years, 2015 to 2016, I think. For 2 years, I'm pretty sure. Made it to a Pro Bowl. Then the next year was really bad. He was getting burned all over the place, really struggled. But this was a guy, even when he came here, when he was pretty much out of his prime, still made a Pro Bowl. Still managed a way to get to the Pro Bowl. And it's just crazy to watch him really develop as a player, really. I watched him from all angles, obviously. I watched him with his first run with the Jets. I watched him with his second run with the Jets. And not even with the Jets. With other teams, he was very good with as well. He went out, won a Super Bowl, came back with the Jets. I think really, truly, he's a Jet for life. That's really what I believe. Yes, he went out, played with other teams. He's a Justin Tuck of the Jets. Justin Tuck, yes, he went out, played with the Oakland Raiders, came back and technically signed a one-day contract with the Giants, so he retires as a Giant. Same thing with Darrelle Revis. Darrelle Revis retired as a Jet, and I really believe he was proud to be a Jet. I really believe he really put his his heart and soul really out on the football field and really played himself out every single game. Put 100%, 110% into every single game. And that's why I'm putting him as an honorable mention. Now, next up, we got the Giants Mount Rushmore. Alright, so the Giants Mount Rushmore. This one, I got to admit, this one you knew a couple players on here. Like, you knew the first player I have on here, without a doubt, is probably the best linebacker of all time. But not probably. He is the best linebacker of all time, and I will admit that. Even as a Jets fan, who we've had a couple good linebackers come through the Jets organization. Now, we've had a couple good running back, or good players come through the Jets organization. If you don't know what that is, that little blue shiny light, that's my microphone. If you don't know what that is. The Jets have had a lot of good linebackers come through this organization. They've had a lot of good players come through the organization, but the Giants, without a doubt, have the best linebacker of all time. So here's Fox's Giants Mount Rushmore. Harry Carson, Lawrence Taylor, Michael Strahan, Manning. So here, I gotta admit, I actually had a little bit of a tough time with this. With the Giants Mount Rushmore. One of them. I didn't know who to put in. I didn't know what to put in, this player or the other player that I ended up putting on my honorable mention. I didn't really know who to put in. So, the New York Giants all-time Mount Rushmore. Four best players in the history of the New York Giants. Here we go. So the Giants, starting it off, is Lawrence Taylor. Linebacker for the New York Giants. I mean, come on. Really? You can't leave him off of the Mount Rushmore. This guy was unbelievable. The guy was just a great player. Great. He's probably the best linebacker of all time. I mean, I don't give credit to the Giants much, but I'll tell you what, the Giants have had a lot of good players. I mean, just fascinating. And I've seen highlights of him. I've seen it, Bills, Super Bowl, everything like that. Scott Norwood missed kick. I'm sure a lot of people have seen that. I'm sure a lot of people saw Taylor sacking players in that game. The guy, how quick he got to the ball was unbelievable. How he did everything, how quick he got to the ball. He was a run stuffer. I mean, it's almost speechless how good he was. I mean, the guy was almost perfect. He's almost like the Michael Jordan of linebackers. I mean, the guy was just crazy. He was crazy. He was so good. He was so good at his position. So good. I mean, people say he almost created that linebacker position. Meaning he really was, I think, the first one really to be like a rushing linebacker. Meaning a lot of linebackers kind of sat in zone, and he was really the first one to actually kind of rush, and I think that's what really helped. His speed, he was so fast to really just completely blow quarterbacks. Completely. And I really believe Chase Young, I don't think would be as good as him, but I believe Chase Young is going to be like that to NFC East quarterbacks. Just completely rip them. Completely. Lawrence Taylor, linebacker, is my first one on the Giants Mount Rushmore. Next up, Michael Strahan, defensive end. I think this is obvious. What Michael Strahan did with the Giants was unreal. I mean, he won the Super Bowls with them. He was a good communicator. Him, Tuck, and Pierre-Paul on the defensive line was just crazy to watch. He was on one of the best defensive lines in the NFL at the time. The defense was crazy. Michael Strahan has had a very successful career. I really got to admit, I really do believe Michael Strahan's a little underrated. I know this might sound crazy to Giants fans, but you don't hear him talking about throughout the NFL. You hear fans talking about Lawrence Taylor. You hear fans talking about them. You don't really hear fans talking all about Michael Strahan. Now, I mean, Lawrence Taylor is one of the greatest football players ever to step on a football field. Do I think that about Michael Strahan? I don't know. He was very good. I want to call him the GOAT. But he's very good. I really believe Michael Strahan is a little underrated. He doesn't get as much respect as he should. I think it's also because the time they were getting the Super Bowls, Eli Manning was really growing a name for himself. You had Justin Tuck, JPP, all of them kind of really growing in names. And obviously, you had all those players. You had the David Tyree catch as well. He kind of took the fame away from him. I think during the time he was playing with them, during all those years playing with him, I really believe Michael Strahan kind of got overshadowed a little bit. Kind of got really kind of got hit a little bit. Nobody really talked about him. It was Manning. It was the young Eli Manning. It was stealing everybody, taking over the football world. It was the Justin Tucks that was really helping out. It was the Jason Pierre-Pauls. It was the David Tyree catches. It was all that, and nobody really was focusing on Michael Strahan that much. I think Michael Strahan's a little underrated, in my opinion. But Michael Strahan, defensive end, other player in the Giants, Mount Rushmore. Next up, Harry Carson. I think this is obvious. Harry Carson, he's very underrated too. You don't hear many Giants fans really talking, or at least the ones I know, talking about Harry Carson. You look at this guy's numbers. Oh gosh, 9-time All-Pro Bowl. I think it's just fascinating. 9-time Pro Bowler, all these first-team All-Pros. What he did with the Giants was unreal. He's another player that I feel like not many people talk about. Very good. He's a linebacker. I don't know. I feel like him and LT played at the same time. I'm not sure, though. I'm not 100% sure. But I'll tell you what. Them two together, and the Giants you could they have two top 5 linebackers of all time, you could say. Harry Carson and Lawrence Taylor. I really believe they have two of the greatest linebackers of all time, possibly. Them two was just crazy together. Obviously, Harry Carson and Lawrence Taylor it's just crazy how good they were. So I'm putting Harry Carson next up on the Giants Mount Rushmore. Next up, I have Eli Manning, quarterback. This one was tough, I got to admit. I put Eli Manning. I could put, who my honorable mention is. And this might not sound tough, but Eli Manning, what he did with the Giants was good. Now, here's my thing with Eli Manning. His final years with the Giants were horrible. Were not very good. Which I think kind of made me a little bit should I put this guy here? What should I do with this? It kind of made me a little, okay. Next up, I want to say my honorable mention was Justin Tuck. I was going to put them two in here. I think a lot of people know Justin Tuck. I think he's more known than some players. Justin Tuck was very good. I really like Justin Tuck, even though he was a Giant. It reminds me a little bit of Saquon. I like Saquon even though he's a Giant. I really do. Saquon's one of my favorite football players. I really like him. He's a good guy, very good player. Justin Tuck was a good guy, very good player, helped out charity, community, everything like that. Same thing with Saquon. So I like him. Even though they're not Jets, I still like him. Eli Manning, though, I mean, he won 2 Super Bowl MVPs. He was overall a good quarterback. Tail end of his career, though, really struggled. Really, really, really struggled. I think it's also part of the reason they started to strip down the team around him. Got a new coaching change. Got John Coughlin left. They got Ben McAdoo, who was horrible. And it's fine. I mean, what? You could say Eli Manning, his final 4 years, went through 3 coaches. Ben McAdoo, who was horrible, made 1 wild card game. And I don't even say that was a good season because I'll tell you what. What he did with those players was horrible. On that, preparing for that wild card game. He had no locker room control. So I think Joe Judge will be good. He's been in big games. He knows how it feels. If the Giants get there again, I really believe he's going to be a good locker room control for them. Also, you don't have head cases like Beckham on there anymore. You had, obviously, you had Ben McAdoo, whose second year was horrible. You had McAdoo. You had Pat Shurmur, who was just lost. And now you have Joe Judge. He did not, actually, no, he did not. He didn't burn through Joe Judge. Joe Judge wasn't there. Eli Manning's retired, obviously. So he didn't technically burn through Joe Judge. So, technically, he only had 2 coaches in his final, 3 years? And that's tough. They were tough coaches. They weren't very good. Next up, honorable mention, I have Justin Tuck. I think this is obvious. I think Justin Tuck is a very good Giant. I think he's very good. I think a lot of people talk about him. Maybe the numbers aren't as great as a Michael Strahan, but very good player. And that is what I got for the Jets and Giants Mount Rushmore today. Now some news here on J.R. Smith. Now I'll tell you what, this is pretty big news here. This is some pretty big news for J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith is expected in the top candidate to sign after Avery Bradley. Lakers eye J.R. Smith as top candidate to replace Avery Bradley. Avery Bradley is not going to play with the new shutdown thing like that. Report Lakers targeted J.R. Smith ahead of NBA restart. Lakers rumors J.R. Smith a possibility after LA after Bradley opts out. So Avery Bradley isn't going to play the NBA restart. You've heard that about maybe a couple players now. Boogie Cousins came out. DeMarcus Cousins came out. He said he's not playing, but he's injured. He wants to he has multiple teams for the 2021 season looking at him to pick him up, and he wants to see what he's going to sit out to really make sure that torn ACL is okay. Kind of what KD's doing. Really make sure that torn Achilles is okay. Lakers Avery Bradley opts out of NBA restart. J.R. Smith emerges as replacement candidate. And I'll tell you what, this could get very interesting because if this happens, could if J.R. Smith blows it up in the NBA restart and completely goes on fire, do you see Avery Bradley coming back? This could get very interesting. It could really get interesting. And I got to admit, I really was surprised when I heard about this because J.R. Smith, there was rumors of him going earlier, him and Dion Waiters going there, and that wasn't the case. But now he might actually go there. Dion Waiters obviously doesn't look like he's going to go there, and J.R. Smith might actually go there now. So it really could get interesting here with this. And I think if J.R. Smith goes, him and LeBron, obviously they had a rough breakup, that finals, and then, after that finals, LeBron went his own way. J.R. Smith obviously got released I think in free agency, things like that. They kind of had a rough breakup, but, they could really if they make a comeback, them two, and maybe be very successful with this new NBA restart plan, they could maybe be successful and maybe get a couple of wins. Will be very interesting to watch there. So that's what I got for the podcast today. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. I know I did. Tomorrow's Thursday. I'll tell you what, we're flying through this week. I feel like it was just Monday. We really are. Anyway, tomorrow I'll be back at it, talking some more sports. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully you have a good rest of your day. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.